Hey, I'm Turner Vinson. Today we're right along the Bitterroot River and I'm going to do a full demo, 18 by 24 inch canvas. I'll talk my way through it, try to share a little bit of my process. I've gone ahead and picked out a scene that's just right up here. And it's not exactly a simple scene, it's fairly complex, but it's the kind of scene that I love to paint, and I think I'll be able to show you how I take a complex scene and really simplify it. This is our spot. I'll get set up, I'll show you the scene, and then we'll get going. So here's the scene that we're going to paint, and I'll just explain to you what I'm looking at and what I love about this scene. As I mentioned, it looks really complex, but we're going to simplify it. So the first thing to point out is the shape of this water. It makes this nice receding triangle, and then you have the background trees coming down as well, and then you have all these dark shapes of these trees coming up in the foreground or middle ground. And then this shadow I love. It follows the contour of the ground, it comes down through this little pathway, it back up, and I have these little bits of light streaking through here. So some of the big shapes I'm looking at is the shape of the shadow in the foreground, one big shape of shadow, the shape of the water. These verticals are going to be breaking that plane, the shape of the background trees, the shape of the sky, the shape of these groups. So those are the big groupings that I'm looking at. And the colors that I'm going to be using is titanium white, cad yellow light, yellow ochre, burnt umber, alizarin crimson, ultramarine blue, phthalo blue, and celestial blue, which is basically cerulean. And for brushes, you'll see I have just a variety of filbert, mostly filbert bristle brushes. I prefer a stiffer brush, and you'll see as I'm painting why. I like how it really holds the paint, but of course I'll always have some synthetics. Here's a little synthetic, and then I also have kind of just a conglomerate of little small brushes, some stiff filbert still, but then some synthetic soft brushes for a variety of things. So as I'm painting, I'm going to do my best to just be vocal with all the thoughts that are going through my mind. Doing a demonstration is a little different than just teaching, because when I'm teaching, I like to break it completely down to the fundamental basics and really teach. That's not what I'm going to do here. I'm just going to do a demonstration and talk about what I'm trying to accomplish. I still think that it can be beneficial to someone who's learning, but it's not exactly like I'm trying to teach you how to paint. I just want to give you a demo, show you how I work, and then maybe you can take something from that. And my canvas is just a canvas panel. Literally right before coming out here, I had to run by my local art store and just picked up a canvas panel. It's 18 by 24. All right, let's get started. So I just have probably a number 6 or so filbert brush. It's dirty. It's not dirty, but it's just an old brush, and I'm perfectly happy with that. And the way I'm going to start this painting, I often start paintings in different ways, but I am going to draw a little bit And I'm okay with just some dirty terp. This is literally just dirty terp and some color. I don't care what it is. It's just something that I'm going to get started with. So this was just a little bit of blue, some brown, some alizarin crimson, and we'll get going. So I know this tree is going to kind of be the star of the show to some extent. So it's going to be here, and then I can kind of approximate where my water's going to go, somewhere around here, and this is that V shape of the water I was looking at. The ground kind of stops here, or the dirt and then there's rocks here. Just kind of hint at this tree. There's a big tree here and all this stuff. So I'm kind of cutting this off. I've got this tree here, and then there's another cottonwood here and a few cottonwoods here, and that's going to be the edge of my scene. Let's see. And then this shadow shape has shifted. So the image that we're looking at painting now is a little different. The sun has come through some more, and I'm okay with that. But I'm gonna just kind of pick a shadow shape out of this. And there is this path that kind of comes in and around. It's actually not gonna be really a big part of this painting, so I probably shouldn't even draw it in there, but I'm seeing it. And I'm just gonna, this is shadow shape. Background trees, line, and then these trees here. Kind of have this nice bend to them out. And this has got some shadow in it as well. Some shadows that really bounce down this contour, which is nice. And that is essentially the big shapes are there. So I'm happy with that. We'll jump straight in to massing in these big shapes with color. And so I'm also squinting a lot. So squinting really breaks down the scene for you. It's almost like if you have really bad eye vision, just take your glasses off. If you have vision like me, which is I wear glasses but they're not terrible, you know, you really, if you just squint down, you break the landscape down into it's kind of like throwing the camera out of focus. You break it down into its big shapes. So I'm squinting a lot and just kind of looking around at my values, trying to kind of place where everything is. And so as I'm looking, I'm seeing a big shape of shadow here. I'm seeing nice shape of light here. And this is going to be my sweet spot. I'm going to have shadow kind of dancing down this hill, which I didn't really grab entirely the right shape, which we'll get to. And you're going to have this nice tree bending out of this with light. So you're going to have a nice dark shadow with a pop of light, and then this nice tree bending this way. This is going to be the star of our show. All right. So I'm just going to kind of quit overthinking this and trying to explain so much. I'm going to just get painting and then just continue to talk as I'm going. And I think I'm just going to start with these distant trees. And I've got some yellow ochre, white. I threw a little bit of blue in there just to take it back just a little bit. Maybe I got too much. It's all right. Yeah, like that. When you find a color that you like, don't just stop there and paint your whole shape with that one color. Add some variety to it. The variety has to be simple, but the guy I studied with used to say, add variety if for no other sake, for variety's sake, because you can find variety in the landscape. Rarely do you find something that's just one straight pure color. I'm looking at that bank where the meets those distant trees. It's a real pop of color. And while I'm right there in that area, I'll go ahead and paint down to where it meets the water. So everything in painting is about relationships. The relationship of this to the water, the relationship of the water down to these rocks, the relationship of all of this to the sky. So you're constantly reevaluating, you're constantly shifting. Some people have a different approach where they plan it all out ahead of time, and I don't paint that way. Nothing against it, it's just not how I paint. So I like, and I'm okay with making mistakes and fixing them. That's one of the beauties of oil paint, is how forgiving it is. So don't feel like you have to have everything figured out. Well, you'll never get everything figured out before you start, but you know, you kind of have to find what works for you. And I like the flexibility of working this way for myself. In this water, I'm squinting. I'm a little dark on it. Just gonna lighten it up, get some stuff in there. So I am coming pretty much right across where these trees are. That's all right. It's one thing that, you know, you see a lot of people, you know, people that are early in their painting pursuit are really afraid to go back over paint, like especially wet on wet. And you'll see as I'm painting that I don't have any problem going right back over wet paint. All right, let's throw the sky in there real quick. And it's pretty light. I'm using my celestial blue, and it's throw a little bit of other color in there to gray it down just slightly. Yeah, that looks pretty good to me. I'm gonna throw my brush in this dirty terp, which, you know, has to be personal preference. I don't mind that sometimes. It does get darker as it goes up. I think I'm going to jump straight into some of these darks. Our main tree and these trees on the left. And it is going to go off the page. So with these these branches, winter trees, winter branches against the sky, we have these dark trees here. There's a little bit of green in there. It's dark green of just some pine trees, which I just add a little bit. But again, you know, for me personally, sorry about the geese. For me personally, I'm not trying to describe this area. I'm trying to have this area read as a clump of trees that's on the right of my painting. That's to the right of what's going to be the star of the show in this area. So I'm going to leave this still nondescript and keep working my way around the painting. And that's straight over other paint. You know, there's no need to be afraid of going straight over it. One thing you have to do though is if you try to, you know, maybe like when you were a student, when you're a kid, if you try to paint it, you might lose the integrity of your stroke. But what I do is get some paint on there and I'm just dropping it. I'm just dropping it down. That's how I'm getting so cleanly across the water. All right, I'm gonna jump to the light real quick. White, yellow ochre, a little cad yellow light. And let's see, there's a nice pop of light here. It's coming through right now. You know, the image that we were looking at might even be different than what I'm looking at right now. You know, some people view painting on location difficult with the changing conditions. I think that sometimes it can be an advantage than taking this one image that you snapped and then having to deal with that as a photo. When you get to see some different options out here. I think the negative side of that is if you chase it, is if you paint for 4 hours and in 4 hours you realize that everything's changed and you're still trying to make it look like that. Yeah, that's gonna be hard. But in this case, I'm getting some different shadow shapes in the foreground that I like even better than what we had. So I certainly view that as a good thing. And as I'm squinting, this shadow in the foreground is dark, but it's not as dark as the trunks of my trees. Again, that's the viewing everything within context and within relationship to everything else. Just gonna mass these things together more. They're too clumped. There's some darker things here. I can come back. I'll come back to this as we continue to develop. And of course, right now there's some nice there's some nice branches being really hit by light in here. Just going to take some dark and kind of let's reestablish some lines in here. I'm going to push a few things towards a little bit more of a purpley color. It's just looking kind of dead in here because it is a sunny day. You do get some cool things in there, but it's a little too brown. Really pop some of these areas of light. Areas of light in here. Some of these shadows here kind of coming up this bank, and I'm not describing that shift right there that I want to. Up here. There's some variety in this that I'm not really describing at all. And this is an area where I would say is where a big difference in doing a demo and teaching would be. Because if I was teaching right here, I would not be doing this ridiculous crap in here. We would be approaching it in a more matter-of-fact way. But as a painter, you know, I'm not interested in trying to describe you know, the actual blades of grass. You know, I'm interested in trying to kind of, you know, of course, hint and suggest at it, and then, you know, almost like see what I can get away with, and it still come across as me standing next to a river on a sunny, cool day. You know, can I get that feeling across in this painting without having to draw every blade of grass? Or do I need to draw no blades of grass, or maybe only a few blades of grass? You know, that's what you have to figure out for yourself. Just a hint at that path, kind of coming along here. Don't want to draw it out because I don't want this painting to be about that path. And there's rocks. I'm just hinting at some darks. There's also shadows shooting across those rocks. Some subtle hints of the reflections in the water from the other side. Nothing too much. Some lighter spots. And then right next to the bank, on this side of the river, it's kind of some frozen, some snow. And it might read as reflection in the painting, but it doesn't matter to me. As long as it's not too distracting, which that might be too much. I can always scale it back. Those rocks, as I'm squinting, those rocks are really, they're quite a bit, they're not lighter, maybe they are. There's just a nice amount of light hitting these rocks. And I just want to make sure I grab some of that. And it's actually much, now what I'm looking at is this area has shifted some, and I'm not certain. This is where you have to start really deciding where you want the painting to go, because you can't chase the light too much, like I was saying. But does that work better than what I have, or do I keep what I have? I'm just gonna look at this tree. This is an area where I might want a nice hard edge on this tree. Let's see. You know, and as I was saying, in a demo versus teaching, in a demo, I mean, yeah, I'm trying to just paint. I'm trying to paint like I would paint if you weren't sitting there watching me. And I ask a lot of questions and I explore a lot of things when I'm painting just on my own. And so I'm trying to give you a glimpse of that. Let's see. We have this tree here. I'm often drawing with straight lines, drawing curves with straight lines. Trying to get, you know, if you get too long with your strokes, you lose the intensity of your stroke with oil. And so I'm kind of trying to just put it down and still describe some gesture within the branches. That brush was a little too fat. I do have this kind of like long rigger of some sort. Let's see how that does here. Yeah. Again, this might be a little too early to be getting into too much little things like this, but it's part of also painting outdoors is you see it, it may not be there forever. Grab it. And we'll just hint at this light coming in. Okay, can't mess with it anymore right now. We'll come back to it. And there's some nice warmth in this tree. That might be, not might be, that's too much warmth, but scale it back just a little bit. Back to our main tree. It's got a branch shooting off right here, coming this way. These branches, they come out. Let's see. Let's just figure out how far they're gonna come out. They're gonna come out all the way here. Still hinting. It's getting a little too standardized, you know. Same brush, same stroke. And when you see that, don't let it continue. Break it up. One way to do it is to switch brushes, which I haven't done yet, but I will. And I'll play with the sky also back into it. I think the sky can go darker in some of these. Yeah. Nice clean blue right there. Alright, some of these trees, actually more of these trees are in light right now than were, and I am enjoying that. So that's something I will use. The geese are giving us a nice little tune over there. I'm just kind of, you can't see my palette right now, but I'm going straight into my pile of ultramarine blue. And my brush is dirty, the edge of my ultramarine blue is dirty, and I'm just grabbing something. I'm more concerned with the value. I need something that's dark right there. And ultramarine blue is dark. So that's basically the, and also that, you know, the brown, that I have a lot of brown in here already, and I don't want to get too redundant on that. This will be some of the kind of grassy stuff just popping up here and there. These tall grasses are everywhere. So this is like I'm saying, oh, maybe I can do so many of these to make it feel like it's a grassy, that there's grass there, you know? It's not just sunlight hitting dirt, but there's actual tall, soft, fluffy grass. And make that rise up this just a little bit. It's subtle. It's not a big jump here like it is in a few of the other places. You know, I just put that shadow in there and I don't like it. And that's how I take something out. You know, when you have a lot of paint on your palette, you can get rid of things. All right, let's go back to our main tree here. There's some kind of undetermined areas right there. There's the slightest bit of light coming down on our tree. Right here is another branch. It's not that thick. See if we can put that branch on a diet, shave off some weight. Still just going back to these branches. grab a little bit larger branch coming this way. And there's these little tree. There's a little kind of sapling just right in front. You know, a lot of these things I often see, especially beginners, not want to put little things like that there, when there's little things like that that give paintings a little sense of reality. You know, it's kind of like, you know, nature versus your neighbor's front yard. You know, which one's more natural, your neighbor's front yard or nature? But often, I don't know, I guess, you know, we might live in a culture that often prides the front yard more than nature, which, I don't know, maybe I shouldn't get into that. But I love the wildness of nature way more than my neighbor's front yard. That's for sure. I'm going to throw something nice and dark on the right side of these trees to really bring some of those trees forward. Find a brush. In this kind of area where we're talking about there being trees, you know, all I want this area to say is trees over here. Something that's kind of holding down this side of the painting. They've got some of this grass that's really more in shadow over here. But, you know, speaking about nature, it's the craziness, it's the controlled craziness of nature that I love. And I am trying to find in my paintings. I don't know that I've been successful yet, but I'm trying to find this. How can I show the wildness and the craziness that I love in nature, yet hold it together in a pleasing way in a painting? That can be a tricky endeavor. So here I'm just thinking, I'm looking at the painting and I want to add, it needs a few areas to kind of bring it together. And I think some of these cool shadows can help with that. And they're also, a lot of these shadows that I have, they're just not going dark enough. That's going to help a lot, I think. And also, you know, like I said earlier, variety is what I go for. You know, I definitely see people who have different approaches, who have more of an approach of simplicity, and you'll look through their painting and see, you know, in a shadow shape, and it might be beautiful, but it will be, it doesn't have that variety, and I love pushing that variety. But you know, this is a hunt. You know, it's a search for kind of your own voice and for even just success. You know, I don't mean financial success. I just mean, does your painting work? So it's something that I'm always thinking about. And I think you'll see, hopefully, that in really a short amount of time, you can start pulling together something that's decent and that you could envision taking further. And for me, doing this, you know, painting out on location, plein air painting, it's part of my process. I don't exactly go out just to take notes to go into the studio and finish, especially when I'm in the area I live. I can do this now. Here come the geese. And I can come back to this location as many times as I want. That's what I love, is working on location, but not being limited to that session, not being limited to anything. And I'll come back. I'm going to add a little bit of, it's darker at the base of these trees, and I'm going to mix up kind of a purplish color, grayish purplish color, and see if I might can sneak it under here, just to show that a little more distance on, not distance, but that these are trees, you know, on the far bank. And something that you always want to do is take a break. Get away, don't look at the painting, and let your mind think on other things. And then come back, reassess the painting. Well, if you've made it this far in the video, I'm going to assume that you have a strong interest in painting. And so I just want to say thank you. I enjoy making these videos. And if you want to see more instructional videos, if you want to see more demos, leave a comment below. Let me know what you think about this one so far. All right, let's take a look at the painting. And aside from just taking a break and getting away from your painting, make sure you're always stepping back and viewing your painting from a distance to make sure it's really going in the direction that you think it is. It's hard to really judge the painting when you're right there and it's in your face and you're really invested, but when you step back, you get a clearer vision. Overall, I'm pretty happy with kind of the whole idea and where it's going. I think some of these angles are a little too harsh in here. Some of these reflections are a little too much. They might just need to be kind of smudged some. And then I'm just going to keep developing. My light is shifting a lot, but I'm kind of okay with that because because of where I'm at in the painting now. I can kind of decide really what's necessary, what's not necessary. So we'll just keep going. I don't use palette knife to paint with too much, but I will use it occasionally. There's these little areas, the wind's blowing and it's kind of making that sheet of one color across some of these parts of the water. Isn't necessary. All right, squinting down, still looking at some of these highlights that are just, or reflections that are just a little too much. might help a little bit. All right, and some of these areas in here, let's see. I've got a purplish color. This is kind of awkward because it's almost converging right in the middle, and I don't like that. So I'm just going to soften it a little bit. I might can just get away with it. And right now I'm uncertain of it, so I'm just going to leave it and kind of move on to another area. I'm going to get another soft brush, smaller brush, and try to bring some of these grasses up around here a little more. The light has shifted a little bit, and now there is a shadow back here with some nice light popping up in front of it, and I like it. It's actually more what we had in the beginning. It kind of shifted around on me. So I'm going to put shadow back here, and then bring some of this in front of it. Still can't be too uniform, you know. I'm like getting carried away here with my little flicky brush. It's another thing I try not to have, you know, you see some of those painters and they have this signature little swoosh, you know, it's like at the end of every brush stroke there's like a little whoosh, and you know, that I really try to stay away from that type of uniformity, and you know, keep it a little more shifting a little more, and not getting stuck and having to have a certain little stroke or a certain little touch. I think I'm a little happier with that than where we were in the foreground. This is still, I think we could just bring some dark shadowed grass across this. Maybe that will help. Too much. Might have gone just a little too far. All right, and back over here, I'm squinting, seeing my scene, and this area over here is just blasted right now with light, like blasted. maybe just a few strokes to add some variety in there. And then don't hang around too long. You know, our nature it's like we're constantly fighting our nature, which can be difficult because the second you kind of shut off your thinking, boom, nature takes over and you do something something super stupid. And sometimes it's what you're trying to do is contain how long you let that happen. You know, you'll be painting, sometimes you'll do a whole session, a whole day, and you look at your painting and you go, it's just, what the heck was I doing? What was I doing? It's just somehow, or, you know, we can shut off, and like subconscious takes over or something, and sometimes that's good, sometimes that's bad. I find often for myself, my nature is much more conservative, much more reserved in what I'm trying than what I enjoy in painting. I look at some of the things that I enjoy most in painting, and I think, oh my gosh, how did that artist pull that off? And it seems so far removed from me. And I kind of play with that. You know, I don't take myself as you know, the story's already been told. You know, here's who I am and here's what I'm capable of. I'm interested in exploring that, and I'm curious, could I, you know, in my own hand, could I pull something like that off? I don't know, you know, we'll find out. A couple of these areas of dark coming across the water. I just want to see if I can hint at some of them. Trees up on the right. Just want to give a few darker branches coming out this way. There's actually a little bit of light on this tree now. Might try to hint at it. Still looking at this area. I think we can just add a little more interest around it. There's a little more pop around that dark tree than what I'm giving it right now. Just a few lighter branches. Warmth that's in these. And then as I'm squinting, I'm kind of scanning around, and Just keep revisiting a few of these different areas. You know, do something like this, and then it feels too manufactured. It just feels a little too commonplace. So I just want to add a little variety back to it. Shape of these rocks kind of varies in there a little bit more. Well, for the sake of the demo, I'm going to call this one quits. I hope you guys enjoyed it. If you want to see more of these demos or more instructional things on this channel, leave a comment below. Let me know what you think. If you have questions about this painting or process, leave those questions below as well. I'll try to get to them. And if you enjoyed the video, hit the subscribe button. And I'll see you guys next time.